Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Autumn and today I am very excited to be showing you this vintage lace slow stitch needle book that I made. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about my inspiration first before I show you. So my inspiration is these old books here that you see, just right there. Okay, so here's the book, Needlebook. And so what I did was I started with a piece of antique tea towel cloth. And so that was the base for this, for the cover. And then I covered it with a vintage pale yellow chantilly lace, if you can see that. And you might be able to see the tea towel peeking underneath because this is a netting lace here. Okay, so I started with that. And then up top, this is antique tatting. And then we've got this flower that I made here, well, and the leaf too. I made these from vintage fabric. So it was an old dress from like the 1940s, I'd say. And it must have some kind of polyester or acetate or something. And I think those kinds of fabrics weren't created until like the late 1930s or 40s. So, but this is around that time. This fabric is a little newer. I think it's probably from the 1980s. But I was able to create a leaf from that. And then here is a piece of vintage lace, a cutting from yardage that I have, and it's about 1940s. And then this is newer. I'd say this is probably 1980s lace, this piece here. And then I've got this piece. I'd say it's around the 1970s because it came from a ravaged wedding dress that I had, and it was from the 1970s. And then right here, I've got this beautiful picture here, and I'm not sure if you can see. I'm going to come in close. I have quilted around the ladies. So it makes a pucker. I don't know if you can see the pucker. Their bodies are kind of puffed. It's really neat. So I quilted them down, and then I went with a very tiny stitch, just as small as these. I call them mouse stitches, all around the edge to secure it. And then I did a blanket stitch around the edge there. So there's that. And then I closed it with this antique mother of pearl shank button, and then this is vintage seam binding. Okay, and then I will open it up. Here is the inside cover, and it's just kind of a little vignette of lovely things, kind of like what you see in the magazines or in the old books here. And just kind of something to feast your eye, but also there's room if you want to add more, you know, lovely items from your family, or, you know, anything that's special to you. You can pin it in, you can surface sew it in, paste it in. So the inside is vintage. I want to say probably 1930s or 40s. I ended up getting a really nice big amount of this, and it's old. And this is usually what people do ribbon embroidery on. I think it's taffeta or something like that. But anyway, so that's the inside cover base. And then I did a layer of this really soft pink, you know, organdy. And it's got, I'm not sure if you can see, but it's got some kind of a, I don't know, some fuzzy design that accompanies it. That's the best way I can say it. And then I stitched it with the mouse stitches all the way around, and then finished it with a blanket stitch. Oh, by the way, the blanket stitch is done with vintage embroidery floss, the pearlized type. And then I sewed this beautiful little doodad here. This is vintage, probably only about 70s, but it's still neat. And then This here is vintage cotton. It's the old bandage cotton from old hospitals, and I just stamped the word vintage on there. And then if you can see the little mouse stitches. And then this is a nice vintage brass button. It's kind of shiny, and that's because I put clear polish on it. I didn't want the brass to stain the other side of the book. So here's a little flower that I made here, and leaves, and then this is seam binding, vintage seam binding. And then I've got these sweet little glass seed pearl beads here, and those were from a broken purse, so those are old too. And then I've got another one of those really pretty little fabric pictures that you'd see in a lot of those old ladies magazines. And then I did the same thing, stitched around it, and then did a blanket stitch. This is kind of a nice brownish color this time. And then I've got here, I have an antique mother of pearl button. And then down here, I've got a piece of antique lace fragment, and then another little piece of lace here, just kind of layered, tucked in. I actually put that in after I put the leaves and flower. These I made as well, the leaves and the flower. And then here's another piece of vintage lace here. And then some more of those old beads. Over here is just a little lace bit that I put some of my handmade leaves on there. Okay, so there's that side, and then there's this side here, and this is a piece of antique lace here that I just kind of sewed down. And then after I sewed it down, I did this sweet little kind of like a running lazy daisy stitch. So it was just kind of like a running stitch first, and then I did lazy daisies around, kind of like a vine. And then some more of my little handmade flowers and leaves here. I didn't put any beads in these because I just felt like beads would be too much for that. Here's a little cluster of little antique / vintage baby pearl buttons. So they're mother of pearl, and these were the real tiny ones that you would put on baby's clothes or maybe on lingerie. So that was pretty. Here you can put pins, you can put little notions that will stick in that you want to use. And then over here I've got this pocket, and this is the base of this pocket is from a 1920s curtain. So there's that. That has been stitched down all the way around, and I used an old thread that kind of looked almost the exact same color. I don't know if you can see those tiny mouse stitches in there. Okay, and then I've got this vintage lace going up along the top, and then another one of those little vintage pieces, I think from maybe the 70s or so. And then this is a 1920s glass pearl bead sewn into the center of that one. And then another one of those really sweet images that I quilted down. And then I've got this here. It's just a piece of, just kind of cheap lace, but it's vintage. I'd say not too vintage, probably 70s or 80s. And then another handmade flower with leaves, and then the old beads inside. Okay, so there's the first spread. All right, and then I will turn. Oh, you know what? I didn't tell you about this, the inner pages. So all the inner pages are made from vintage wool blanket. So that's what that is. It's got a really nice soft feel to it. Okay, so now we've got this spread. And so this side here, I've got, I'll start with this piece here. So what this is this is some vintage felt kind of fabric, and underneath it is, it's padded with just some regular felt that you can get at, like, say, a craft store or something like that. I've had some for a long time, and so I can't say the age of the inner felt, but it's probably only from maybe the 1990s or something like that. And then this one here, I think is the top felt, is from like maybe the 1970s or 80s. So the reason I padded it is because when you put your pins in, you don't want them to go through the other side like that. So when you pad it, that creates a nice little bed or mattress, if you will, for your pins. Okay, so there's that. I went ahead and did the running stitch all around the edge, and then I finished it off with, I finished that off with a blanket stitch, and then I just embellished it. So up here there's a vintage, I don't know if this is tin that has been coated, but it's metal, it's hollow. It's a vintage, probably tin button. And then I've got this here. This is from an antique fragment. It's one of those rings that you kind of crochet around it. So I removed that from a piece and sewed that down. And then I've got these two old baby or lingerie buttons here. They're mother of pearl. And then here I've got another piece of lace fragment. And then on top of that, I layered this handmade little rose and flower leaves. And then I've got these little old beads, seed beads from the broken purse. And then these are just some pins and things, just kind of as an example, and they do come with the needlebook. So then here's another one of those little baby buttons there. And then this cute little piece here. I just love this stamp so much. So this is some more of that old hospital cotton, like bandage cotton, and I just stamped it with this, did a running stitch around, and then I edged it with this blanket stitch. And then here's another one of my handmade little flowers and leaves. And then, of course, I just think snaps look so charming in anything having to do with sewing. So I put those in. These are actually Victorian. They were on an old card that was falling apart. And I just took all the snaps off of the card because I couldn't even save the paper, which I really wanted to. But so then I've got this vintage lace here. And what you can do with this, I guess you could call it like a belly band, but I don't like to use that term really in needle books. But you can, like, if you've got safety pins or pins like this, you can hook them to the loops in this, and you can have them handy when you need them. And it's flanked with a nice antique mother of pearl button on either side, which I thought was kind of cute. And then here is the middle, I guess you could call that the middle seam. So as you can see, I hand stitched that down. And then here's the other side. Here we've got, this was from a very, very old sheer curtain that I have. The curtain, I believe, is from the 1920s, and it's got a lot of these neat doily kind of things, patterns in it. And so I just cut that out and put that down. And then on top, I layered it with another one of my flower and leaf kind of handmade doodads. If you can see inside there, I've got some beads as well, some of those old pearl glass beads, seed beads. And then here's another little snippet, if you will, or fragment of lace. And then this is it's just sewn on around the edge, so you can put pins in there, or, you know, safety pins or whatever. And then here is just, I thought it was cute. It's kind of vintage, like stork scissors. And it's one of those kind that you know, those little pins that they've got a back that you kind of pin from the back. So the back of that is inside, it's sewn inside of this here. So it won't stick anybody or anything. Here is another pocket on this side. So it's kind of a nice deep pocket. And then this is This fabric here is vintage. It's from the 1970s, and it's Ozarks fabric. And I love a lot of those. Now, most of the stuff that I do use is older than the 1970s, but I do really like the Ozarks fabric. It's just very, very charming. They do a lot of really pretty prairie prints, like the calico and stuff like that. And so I thought, oh, that would be lovely. I've got some different colors and different designs, and I thought this would be sweet in there. So that's the base for this pocket. And then as you can see, I've got this lace along top. This lace is antique lace running along the top. I did a little the same running stitch that I do, and then this is another blanket stitch. And with this time I didn't use that like pearl kind of, you see how this is like that old pearl kind of embroidery floss. This is like an old, it's antique, it's a French like linen kind of and I just thought, oh, that would be nice, because I've already got all the shiny pearl stuff here. I didn't want to put too much. So it's just a subtle touch, because I didn't want to take away from the beautiful fabric either. So and then we've got another sweet image. This kind of reminds me of Lizzie from Sense and Sensibility. Wait, no, not Sense and Sensibility. Pride and Prejudice. It just, the shape, face, the hair, everything. The only thing is, I don't think Lizzie would be caught dead in this dress. I wouldn't say it's hideous, but it's not Lizzie. You know what I mean? I think it's lovely, but it's just not Lizzie. So anyway, and they were country ladies, so they didn't, this is not their style. Anyway, so again, I quilted around the ladies, as you can see, and it created that sweet kind of pucker. Unfortunately, it's not really showing up so much in the video, but if you were to see it in person, you'd be able to tell. So, and then here's another one of my little flowers and leaves with the old seed beads there in the center. Okay, so I'll show you the spread. Okay, and then here is this. Okay, and so on this side, I created a pocket, so to speak, or a holder for scissors. So up top here, so what I did, I had this really sweet, very fragile lace fragment, you see? And it just kind of goes all, up and around. And so what I did was I did do the really tiny mouse stitches to stitch it down. But up here, since there's no real design, ooh, am I in focus? There we go. Up here, since there's no real design, I kind of did something around the edges of that lace, just to kind of differentiate it from the wool fabric here. So I did the same thing I did that you saw back, let's see, is it in here? Same thing. It's that, that running stitch kind of, or back stitch or whatever, and then the lazy daisies. Okay, and then I put this, now it's kind of stained with oldness, and I like that, so that's just me. That's natural. I didn't do any kind of treatment on that, and I really, really like it. So this is just some old braided cord that I placed across the top, and I really don't have much of that, so I use that sparingly. And then here, just these cute little flowers and leaves that I made, and kind of flanked the top here with that. Okay, and then down here, just a couple of little touches. I've got the mother of pearl baby or lingerie button, and then this is another one of those 1920s glass pearl beads. Okay, and then here, the focal point of the page, I have this scissor holder, embroidery scissor holder. So this here is antique silk brocade, and feels so good. It's really sweet, and it's hard to find antique yellow fabric at all. And I was so blessed to find this at an antique store, and I got a good amount of yards of it for just like 20 something dollars. I couldn't believe it. My mouth is still hanging open because of it. So I did the running stitch around the edge, and this was kind of tricky because the top part is not connected, as you can see. So this was kind of tricky how I put it on, and let me see if I can remember, because the last time I did one of these was years ago, many years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago. So what I did was I don't even remember. Maybe I'll do a tutorial. That's how my brain works. If I'm showing you how to do it, then I can tell you really how I did it. It's kind of complicated, but when you're doing it, it all works out. So, and then here is just some antique netting that it was like trim. It was netting trim, and what I did was I ran a running stitch through the bottom of the netting trim, and then I just kind of gathered it, and it created this circle here. And then on top of the circle, I just sewed one of my doodads of, leaves and flower. So there's that. And then as you can see, I've got that running stitch all the way around. I don't know if you can see my little mouse stitches here. I differentiated them a little bit. They're like a pale green. And all of the thread that I use in this book is also antique or vintage. I try to use as much old stuff as I can. And then here is the inner lining of the scissor such and such. And this fabric is obviously newer. It's cotton, and it's like from the 1990s. But the reason why I used a newer fabric on the inside is because I really, really wanted this to hold up. I really did. And I like that pop of color. Isn't that nice and vivid? You've got this kind of look, and then I really like that. So these scissors are inside. They are old scissors that I got from an antique store, and can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear that when I open it. I can hear, but I don't know if you can hear the close snap, but I don't know if you can hear the open snap or the open, I don't know, rub kind of sound. But these scissors work very, very well, and they are included in the Needlebook. So there's that. Oops. Okay. So there you go. I think that's okay. And then here's the other side, and it's just kind of like the front inner page. Another kind of vignette of pretty things, kind of like they've been thrown on the page, and just, there's room for you to add more things if you'd like. So this inner page, like the layering lace you see here, this is old Corday fabric, old Corday lace. So anyway, this is some Corday fabric, and this came from that. Matter of fact, the cover, a lot of the stuff here came from that sale. This cover lace, this old Chantilly, came from that. So anyway, and then I've got another one of those sweet images. You might be able to see the pucker this time in this one, but that I quilted around the ladies and then did the whole outlining thing. I've got this little bit here. It's just 3 connected flowers of lace at the top. I've got another one of those buttons. Sorry, I keep getting out of focus, and I keep finding these old dark fibers, probably from another project. But okay, so there's that. And then another one of the flowers and leaves. I don't know if you can tell in this book, it looks like I like to use warm tone leaves and cool tone leaves. And then I've got some of this. Now this fabric here, and then this one here, these are Well, I'll tell you later because I plan on doing a video where I show you how to make these flowers, okay? If you want to stay tuned, if you want to, you can get a chance to see and you can make them for yourself. So here is an old, I think it's like a 1930s or 40s glass button, and it's got a nice oil slick kind of aurora borealis finish on the top. And I just thought that'd be a nice touch here. This is a piece of antique lace fragment that I just kind of fussy cut out. And then here's another piece of old lace, and I just kind of fussy cut. This is like an applique type, but it was on like a, you know, just a fragment of lace that came from an old dress or something. And then here's another piece of lace, antique lace fragment here. And then I've got, to brighten things up, a vintage lace applique piece here. And then another one of my leaves and flowers here with some of the old beads in the center. Okay, so again, here's the spread for that. And then you can see this seam binding was sewn in between the front inside cover and back. And then here's the back of the book, like that, with the tatting running across the back of the edge. And then I've got just, it's some of that fabric that I make leaves and stuff out of, but it's just kind of like a label. And then some more of that vintage applique. It was like a, I wouldn't say applique, it was trim, and I just cut it out. And then here, this is cool. This one here, I just did like a kind of a tri-leaf. So this is all, I drew a triangle and then just kind of cut slits and then did the, you know what I mean? So it just kind of, it's easy. I'll show you how to do that too later if you're interested. And then this here is another pretty flower that I did. And then these leaves are even much older. These are from an old Victorian purse that was broken. And so one of these days I've got to show you my button or not buttons, well, there's that too, but my beads collection. I have tons and tons and tons and tons of beads. And so yeah, so there's the back. And of course there's room to add things if you want. Let me show you the spread of the front and back cover. There's the spread of the front and back cover. Gosh, have I even been in focus or frame this whole time? I don't know. So there's that. And I'm going to call my daughter. I'm going to ask her if she can give me a tape measure, because I wasn't even prepared. I forgot. I forgot to have this by my side so I could show you. Thank you, Woo Woo. Okay, so let me show you. This is just, I just drew this out, so I don't even think I measured it. I don't even think I had like a specific measurement that I wanted. So I'd say this is roughly 6 1/8 inches high, or, you know, and then width wide, I would say about 3 5/8 inches, right? Yeah. And then here you can see, this is hand stitched. You can see you can kind of see an indication going down where I sewed the pages in. So this is the spine. It's a pretty basic kind of nice thin spine. And there you go. It wraps around like that as many times as you want until it runs out, I guess. So I hope you liked it. I really do. I really enjoyed making it. Let me know. Don't pay attention to that, what you just saw, that mess over by the door. Anyway, let me know if you liked it. If you did, give me a thumbs up if you would. Share this video if you'd like to. Comment, that would be nice. And if you want to see more videos where I'm going to be doing tutorials, little tidbits, what do you call that? like embellishments, different things like that, then go ahead and subscribe. I would like to. I started a channel years ago. Some of you might even have seen the video. I'm not sure, but it's it's sad because we went through a move and I lost all of my information for that channel. I lost my book with my password and the email that I was using, all that. So it's still up on YouTube, but I don't have access to it. I've been trying to get access to it. But anyway, just if you think about it, the channel is called My Winged Soul Fly. My Winged, like W-I-N-G-E-D. My Winged Soul Fly. Anyway, and so, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.